Hello and thank you so much for joining us for our news bulletin. Here with me, Tandy Zumara. Let's take a look at our top stories. Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI to be buried in first tomb of Pope John Paul II. The government apologizes on the delayed announcement of school suspension due to cholera outbreak. Lilongwe City Council shuts down Waka Waka Market and Central Pottery to contain cholera cases. And in international news, Tanzania's president lifts 6-year ban on opposition rallies. We do have the details to these stories and more, to stay with us. Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI will be interred in the Vatican crypt in the same spot where Pope John Paul II was buried before his beatification. Vatican spokesman Matteo Bruni confirmed the site of Benedict's tomb to journalists on Monday, the first day the Pope Emeritus's body was laid in state in St. Peter's Basilica. The Pope Emeritus' death at age 95 was announced in Rome on Saturday, the 31st of December 2022. We have more details in this Catholic News Agency report read by Alinafe Piri.
The mortal remains of Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI were transferred to the Basilica of St. Peter on Monday morning, where they will lay in state for 3 days to offer the faithful an opportunity for prayer and to pay their final respects to the former Supreme Pontiff. The exposition of the body will continue through Wednesday, with the Basilica open to the faithful from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Monday and from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday. According to Vatican spokesman Matteo Bruni, Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI's coffin will be carried to the crypt under the central part of St. Peter's Basilica for interment after his funeral mass on Thursday, the 5th of January. St. John Paul II's tomb was in the crypt from the date of his funeral, April 8, 2005, until April 29, 2011, when his casket was moved to the upper part of St. Peter's Basilica a few days before his beatification ceremony. St. John XXIII was also previously buried in the same place, which is fewer than 100 feet from the tomb of St. Peter the Apostle, the Catholic Church's first pope. The area is on the north side of the central part of the Vatican crypt. On the wall above the spot, there is an image of the Virgin Mary and the child Jesus flanked by angels.
State President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera has directed his secretary Colin Zamba to make public contents of a report into the circumstances that led to the arrest of Anti-Corruption Bureau ACB Director General Martha Shizuma. The commission, tasked with the quest led by retired Justice of Appeal Edward Twea, presented the report to President Chakwera at Kamuzu Palace today. State House Press Secretary Anthony Kasunda says in a statement the President will then make orders based on the short and long-term recommendations. Government, through the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and Cholera, has apologized to the public on its perceived delayed communication on the suspension of school opening amid cholera outbreak. Following the announcement on Monday morning that schools in Lilongwe and Luntha should remain closed as outbreak is becoming scary, the public reacted angrily on the decision as some students were already in transit to their respective schools. But Minister of Health Kumbize Gandolo Shibonda, who is the co-chairperson of the task force, has told media in Lilongwe earlier today that the two districts have seen an alarming increase in number of cases and deaths due to cholera, hence the tough decision. Bernard Manza was there and he reports.
The minister said for the past 7 days, over 790 cases have been recorded in Luntha alone, with 72 deaths, whereas Lilongwe has recorded 36 deaths in the same period. She said this cause for worry as the country strives to contain the outbreak, hence the decision to suspend the opening of schools to give room for authorities to put further measures in schools to ensure enhanced sanitation.
The first thing is the issue about hygiene, sanitation and hygiene. So we have to look at the issues of latrines, toilets in all the facilities in the schools. But also the other issue, very important one, is the issue about the availability of water. You know, with the COVID, we did the assessment of almost all the schools in Malawi, and we noticed that we had over maybe 17,000 boreholes which we needed to do. Fortunately, because we had funds, we managed to drill over 500 boreholes across the country.
Concurring with the Health Minister, Agnes Nyalonji, who is the Minister of Education, said she recognizes the danger of the curricula as schools close, but was quick to point out that the ministry will ensure that measures are put in place so that learners do not miss out. She said they want to balance their right to education and protecting students' lives, and as such, they will put other measures to ensure education is delivered through different platforms such as radio. On her part, Minister of Water and Sanitation, Abida Slikmia, said they have reconnected kiosks in some hotspots in Blantyre for the people to have clean water.
The issues in Bangwe, whereby there are a lot of squatters. We do know that a lot of people that are living in Bangwe have just come without sanitation services or electricity. So the ministry has also sent 5 water bowsers, using their own resources, of course, to assist the people in Bangwe area.
Meanwhile, Inkosi Yamakosi Mbera, who is also part of the task force, has urged fellow traditional leaders to sensitize their subjects on sanitation to prevent further spread of cholera. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, I am Bernard Manza.
The Lilongwe City Council has ordered temporary closure of Waka Waka Market and Central Poultry 2000 Limited in Lilongwe due to poor hygiene and sanitation, a situation which is putting lives of people in the city at risk. According to the mayor of Lilongwe City, His Worship Richard Banda, the inspection tour has exposed poor sanitation in these areas, which is contributing greatly to the rise of cholera cases in the city. The mayor has said the market's closure is with effect from tomorrow, while Central Poultry has been shut down with immediate effect. Alina Fipiri was there and she reports.
Recently, social media was flooded with pictures showing poor sanitation at Waka Waka Market, a development which raised concerns that such situations are fueling cholera cases in the country. And this is Waka Waka Market, with its floors muddy, poor hygiene and sanitation, but people continue to operate in this market despite its condition. Personnel handling waste at the market are barely wearing protective gears and openly exposing themselves to hazardous conditions, threatening their health. Worse more, toilets where people have to answer the call of nature are far from better conditions, as one can see worms, and the water used to clean its floors is dark gray in color, producing unbearable smell. Speaking as he toured the market, Lilongwe City Mayor, His Worship Richard Banda, said looking at the condition of the market, the facility will be closed with effect from tomorrow, only to be reopened once they comply with proper hygiene measures, despite some business traders at the market expressing disapproval.
No, this area, the hygiene is not there. That's why we decided that we should close those areas, mainly Waka Waka Market, even also Central Poultry. You can see the environment where it's not just okay. So, the challenge with the cholera which we have in the city, it's a big challenge. So we need to treat these places accordingly. And for sure, I told the owner of the places that they should close it until we see the change of that areas. But if they do not comply, we still go there again to enforce the bylaws.
Further, the mayor, including his deputy Esther Sagawa, proceeded to inspect Central Pottery 2000 Limited, where they had to shut it down with immediate effect due to poor management of its dumping site, which breathes heavily unbearable odor, including the processing unit. Just like at Waka Waka Market, waste managers here are hardly wearing protective equipment like masks. The Lilongwe City Council further went in town to inspect markets, especially close to Lilongwe Bus Depot, where they forced business people selling cooked food to pack their utensils until the measures are relieved. Cumulatively, as of 2nd of January 2023, Malawi has reported a total of 18,222 confirmed cases, with 409 new cases, 620 deaths, 822 admitted in treatment centers, and 357 new discharges from treatment units. Reporting for Luntha News, this is Alina Feperi.
The Center for Human Rights and Rehabilitation, CHRR, has called on the government to table the Older Persons Bill in the next parliamentary session. The call comes at a time when many elderly people are reported to have faced different forms of abuse at the hands of people surrounding them in 2022. In an interview with Luntha TV, CHRR Executive Director Michael Gayata said the only way elderly people can be protected is to have a legal framework that protects them. We have more details in this report read by Phyllis Chizombe.
A 2003 study by the Development Ministry and the University of Malawi found that although most people viewed the elderly in a positive light, some regarded them as witches or wizards. While 38% of respondents knew about or had heard of some abuse of old people. Over 15 years later, the story has not changed much, as according to CHRR Executive Director Michael Kayata, in the year 2022, many elderly people, especially women, faced challenges mostly to do with witchcraft accusations. Kayata believes all these challenges would be resolved if the Older Persons Bill is tabled in Parliament and recognized as a law.
The bill, if passed into law, could go a long way in terms of preventing, abuses against the elderly, but also responding to the same. And that's why we felt that as we are entering the new year, 2023, that should be a priority for the government to address the gap in the legal framework to ensure that we have a law specifically addressing the human rights violations that the older persons go through.
Kayata went further to note that it is also crucial for concerted efforts in creating awareness among the public, especially those in rural areas, to dispel the witchcraft beliefs that hang around older people.
If you just tuned in to Luntha TV, know that you're watching news coming to you live from Bishop Navy Media Center. But before we proceed, let's have another look at the headlines. Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI to be buried in first tomb of Pope John Paul II. The government apologizes on the delayed announcement of school suspension due to cholera outbreak. Lilongwe City Council shuts down Waka Waka Market and Central Pottery to contain cholera cases. And in international news, Tanzania's president lifts 6-year ban on opposition rallies. Proceeding with the news, the Parliamentary Committee on Natural Resources has extended its invitation to bodies implementing laws in the country for collaborative effort in fighting forest crimes. The chairperson for the committee, Werani Shilenga, has told Luntha TV that as Parliament, they made laws meant to protect forests, but it is worrisome to continue seeing rampant deforestation for firewood and charcoal due to corruption, a development that is causing threats to the environment. Chilenga has since called for the support from the Anti-Corruption Bureau ACB, the police and other concerned stakeholders to help in saving the environment. Alinafe Piri has more details.
Parliamentary Committee on Natural Resources laments that porous roadblocks which give a free way for people to move with charcoal and sell to consumers instead of putting security personnel to confiscate this charcoal is a big challenge in this fight of conserving the environment and fighting forest crimes. The chairperson for the committee, Werani Chilenga, cited that at one point, the Department of Forestry hired the Malawi Defense Force MDF soldiers, where they even mounted their own roadblocks to confiscate charcoal, but due to financial constraints, they failed to sustain them in those roadblocks. However, the Malawi police took over to patrol roadblocks, but due to corruption, forest crimes never seemed to ease despite having good laws in place. Chilenga has since asked the Malawi police to be patriotic and help in the fight against forest crimes.
Corruption to us as Parliament, as members of Parliament, as far as we are concerned, we made very good laws. We have got a very strong forestry policy. We have got a very strong Wildlife Act. The job of members of Parliament is to make laws, not to implement. Now the implementers are the ones who are failing. Roadblocks are failing to operate. Charcoal is passing through roadblocks. As members of Parliament, we cannot take our vehicles and start chasing people who are passing through the roadblock. So we would like to urge the Anti-Corruption Bureau, the police, and all other stakeholders to make sure that by the end of the day, we win in this battle.
In his remarks, Head of Law Enforcement Operation in the Department of Forestry at the Ministry of Natural Resources and Climate Change, Daniel Kabichi, concurred with Chilenga that they are failing to implement the laws due to resource constraints, but was quick to say that they are doing all they can to fight corruption, especially among officials.
We cultivate a sense of public awareness. People should be able to understand the evils of corruption in the forestry sector, because by doing corruption, it means you're contributing in the dwindling of forested resources, which is very vital in our national economy.
The Lilongwe Wildlife Trust Impact Report of 2021-2022 says over 90% of urban households in Malawi use charcoal for their cooking and energy needs, and demand met by unregulated charcoal trade and illicit trade is one of the key drivers of deforestation in Malawi. Reporting for Luntha News, this is Alinafe Piri.
There is low progress in the redemption of farm inputs under this year's Affordable Inputs Program AIP in Balaka, as only 30% beneficiaries have managed to access the basal dressing fertilizer. The Chief Agriculture, Environmental and Natural Resources Officer for Balaka District, Dennis Zingeni, says the main challenge is logistics on how the commodity will reach to farmers in the outskirts, and currently the district has 4 active markets. So far, 3 members of parliament have intervened and are helping in transporting the commodity to their people in their constituencies. Rashida Matandiga has more details.
The situation, according to the Chief Agriculture, Environment and Natural Resources Officer for Balaka District, Dennis Zingen, is not encouraging, as only 30% of beneficiaries have managed to redeem the basal dressing fertilizer, which is a setback as compared to last year, when 70% beneficiaries had managed to access the commodity in the same timeline. Zingen said they were expecting 28 markets for a successive season, but only 4 are on the ground at Palula, Manga, Ulongwe and the Boma. He said the other main challenge is the issue of transportation, because the commodity is available at the smallholder farmers market warehouse, but the means of taking the fertilizer to the people is a challenge. On the other hand, the district has 6,000 beneficiaries who are expected to benefit from livestock in this year's AIP, and the farmers are also waiting.
In fact, for Balaka, we are having almost 6,300 beneficiaries who are supposed to receive goods, but up to now we haven't started yet because, in fact, the procurement is done at centrally, so we're just waiting for the central government to indicate who is going to supply the goods for the district. In fact, we are assured that by this week we will have the name of the supplier, and we are just waiting for that name so that we have to proceed with the redeeming the livestock beneficiaries. But as I'm talking now, all the beneficiaries are aware of this program, and so far they have already constructed the quotas ready to receive the goods. So we're just waiting for the supplier to provide us with the goods.
Meanwhile, the Kaeno has commended members of parliament for Balaka West, Central, East and North constituencies for intervening, as they are now helping with transportation of the commodity to some parts of their constituencies. Speaking to Luntha TV, Beth Ndewere, MP for Balaka West constituency, said her people comes first and it is best that she supports them now than supporting them when hunger hits. She said the only challenge that she is facing is delays in packing, as it is taking a day to do so, but she is reaching out to all corners of her constituency.
Yeah, what we have done, we have grouped village heads. Sometimes we are grouping 3 of them. Sometimes if the group village head has a lot of beneficiaries, we are giving the group village head a center. For example, we have done in Seche where 4 group village headmen with their people got fertilizers. So we are going into groups and tiers so that people should not move quite a long distance to get the fertilizers. They should just move a short distance, because if they also move travel a long distance to get the fertilizers, they will also incur charges on transportation of the fertilizers.
Over 340,000 households are expected to benefit from this year's AIP program in the district. Rashida Matantika, Luntha TV, Balaka.
Police are advising road users to adhere to all road traffic rules and regulations to avoid occurrences of preventable road accidents. The remarks by Kasungu Police spokesperson Sub-Inspector Joseph Kajiko come as a pedocyclist identified as Anderson Kadzagaloa has died in a road accident after he was hit by a vehicle at Shinkoma Primary School along Kasungu Mchinji M18 road. According to Kajiko, the accident occurred on Monday evening as a motor vehicle Nissan Navara, registration number BR7039, driven by Amoni Nkata, was coming from Mchinji heading towards Shinkoma Trading Center, and upon reaching at the said place, the vehicle hit Kadzagaloa, who was crossing the road cycling a bicycle from left to the right side of the road. Here is part of what Sub-Inspector Kajiko had to say.
The motor vehicle Nissan Navara, registration number BR7039, driven by Amoni Nkata, was coming from Chinji heading towards Chinkoma Training Center. Upon reaching at the said place, the vehicle hit Kadzagaloa, who was crossing the road cycling a bicycle from left to right side of the road. Following the impact, Kadzagaloa sustained severe head injuries and was pronounced dead upon arrival at Kasungu District Hospital. As police, we are advising all road users to adhere to all road traffic rules and regulations to avoid occurrences of preventable road accidents.
Now, in international news, Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has lifted a ban on opposition rallies imposed in 2016 by her strongman predecessor, late John Magufuli, in an overture to political rivals seeking the restoration of democratic traditions. The ban was initially meant to apply to all political parties, but critics said it targeted only the opposition. In 2018, the Magufuli-led government passed a law forcing bloggers, social media influencers, and online platforms to apply for a license and pay a one-time fee of $930 to keep their sites up. 3 years on, Hassan took office after the death of Magufuli, who was nicknamed the bulldozer by many who said he curbed free speech and targeted dissidents. The incumbent president, who is constitutionally serving the remainder of Magufuli's second 5-year term, which ends in 2025, has also been accused of carrying on with Magufuli's authoritarian tendencies. Despite seeking to make conciliatory moves to the opposition since taking office, critics have branded Hassan a dictator, and fears remain about the state of political and media freedoms. And that story also brings us to the end of what we had for you in this edition of our news bulletin. But before we leave, a reminder of our top stories. Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI to be buried in first tomb of Pope John Paul II. The government apologizes on the delayed announcement of school suspension due to cholera outbreak. Lilongwe City Council shuts down Waka Waka Market and Central Pottery to contain cholera cases. And in international news, Tanzania's president lifts 6-year ban on opposition rallies. You have been with me, Tandi Wemzumara. Thank you so much for keeping me company, and do continue following the rest of our programs right here on Luntha TV. Goodbye for now, and do stay safe.